Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Elevate Your Equity podcast, where investors with a special emphasis on couples begin, continue, and deepen their journey to financial freedom together using the powerful vehicle of real estate investing to do it. And today we've got a power couple on the call with us. We've got Leigh and Victor. And Leigh and Victor are managing partners at 25-8 Capital, focusing on acquisitions and project management of large multifamily properties. Additionally, they run a high-volume fix and flip business, LV Realty, and have flipped more than 140 homes within the past 3 years. They've also developed a personal portfolio of rentals consisting of single-family homes and small apartment buildings in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And Victor oversees the construction renovations and runs his own house contracting team. And Leigh focuses on financials, underwriting, and asset management. Leigh and Victor reside in Virginia Beach, Virginia, with their 2 kids, Lillian and Xander. Along with their passion for real estate, Leigh and Victor are both physician's associates and have spent the last 11 years practicing medicine in the Mid-Atlantic. So great to have you guys on, Leigh and Victor. How are you today?
We're awesome. We're so excited to be on your podcast. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being on. And we have our mutual connection to thank for you guys to come on the show. So thank you, Shannon. You know who you are out there. So we really appreciate you. All right. So let's get started. Let's talk about how this all began. How did you guys get first interested in real estate or construction from the beginning? So I don't know if that starts with you, Leigh, or with you, Victor.
Wow. Well, so Victor and I first met when we were in medical school in Washington, D.C. And through studying and going through school, we ended up dating, fell in love, got married, finished school, and got our first jobs together. So we graduated with a mountain of school debt. And we always believed in, good financial health. So we wanted to pay off those loans. So we lived below our means, worked really hard for the next 5 years or so, and ended up being able to pay off our few $100,000 worth of school debt. And we're really excited about it. But through working up to 80-hour weeks, 2 jobs at a time, we working holidays, working weekends, working evenings, we basically burnt ourselves out.
Yeah, we were spent. I mean, we both kind of came to the decision that we needed to kind of hit like a reset button. We both decided to take sabbaticals from our positions with our medical groups, and we decided to do something drastic. And we put all of our personal items into a storage unit. We grabbed 2 backpacks, and we decided to travel the world for a year, nomad style. We traveled all over the place, all over South America and all over Asia. During these travels, obviously, we were in search, of a plan for our lives. We did a lot of reflecting, and in this reflection, we kind of just came with the idea that we wanted, to reach some form of financial freedom where we had more control of our lives. And so we did a lot of reading, a lot of listening to podcasts just like yours, and getting all this information, knowledge. And what really started, resonating with us is that a lot of the folks who are reaching their financial freedom plan were really involved in real estate. And so we knew that that could be a potential path for us to go after, right? And so we had wonderful travels, and upon the end of our full entire year of traveling, and obviously it changed our lives, we decided to come back to the States and do something different. So we had a little bit of money saved up after traveling. And so we decided that we're going to buy our first property. It was a fixer upper, let's say, new to us. And so
I think I know what that means. I'm getting a picture.
We can put some paint and some flooring in a vanity. We thought we'd be doing a great job, right?
Yeah.
So, and so we're in DC, right? We're in DC at that time.
Yeah.
And we got in our storage unit, brought everything down. down to Virginia Beach, Virginia, which is a little bit of a gem in Southern Virginia. We love it. It's the beach. It's fantastic. And so we drove down in our U-Haul, and Leigh, she had the keys in hand, right? And she goes up to the door, puts the key in the lock, turns the lock, opens the door, and then our hearts and mouths just dropped.
Oh no.
A pipe.
What happened?
A pipe burst in the wall. We were gone getting our stuff and flooded the entire place. So we were devastated. I mean, it was a fixer-upper, but it was our first home together as a married couple still. So it was just ruined. But thankfully, Victor always says that sometimes the most difficult roads lead to the most beautiful places. So this really started our real estate journey here. We got ourselves together and started making connections. We connected with contractors to start off with, and we really pulled out a beautiful job renovating our first home, even to a higher level than we had ever dreamed of within the budget that we were given. And this ended up being our first flip. It was our first investment. So given that we had succeeded here and had so many contacts already, we said, well, let's do this again. So we did another flip and then another one and then did some burrs. And by the end of that very first year, we sat down together and we decided to make our roadmap to financial freedom. We realized that we needed to recreate that year off that we had together. That was so magical, full of travels, where every single day we got to wake up and do whatever we wanted. And so we found our freedom number and basically worked backwards, calculating how many rentals do we need? How many doors do we need to get to our freedom number? And it just took off from there.
Yeah, I mean, we went from 1 to 2, from 2 to 4, 4 to 8. And we've done numerous flips at this time. We did 20 some odd burrs. We've, developed a capital group, and now we're transitioning our efforts and our teams into the multifamily space. So that's our story.
I love this, you guys. So I want to back up, right? And I want to talk a little bit more about the tenacity that took back in the early days, because here you guys are. I'm just picturing for myself what this looked like. You were out traveling out and about the world, just not a care in the world. Just the only care was where are you going to get your next meal, and how you're going to safely get to your bed, right? How you're going to safely get
what's
to sleep.
the next beach you guys are going to
go what's to? The next beach? That
enjoying the journey along the way, is what we're trying to reflect on this.
So my thought was, as soon as you got into your first house and you opened up the door and this happened, what kind of thoughts were going through your head at this point? Like, I'm sure that when you first got going with this, building a business to take care of just this exact problem that you ran into was not something that was appealing to you right away. So where did the change happen after you went in there and started to get that thing fixed up? Let's talk about the shift where this went from initially, this is a terrible idea, or, oh my gosh, like this doesn't sound like this is not the way they said it was going to be in books, to now you were actively moving forward in the business. There was a conversation or two that happened between those. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Victor, one of his superpowers is networking. He's originally from Brazil. He speaks 3 languages, English, Portuguese, and Spanish, and he is just fantastic at making connections. And he found some wonderful contractors who worked on our house, who actually had experience in flipping houses in the past. So it was just a jump off point from there. The connection was made, and we realized this was entirely achievable.
Right. We developed a little bit of a team around us. And when we saw that our selectively put together team was getting us further down the road than we ever imagined, we sat down, we said, hey, there's a potential opportunity for us to really scale this business. And, we didn't want to have fear hold us back. And so we decided to sit down and discuss our roadmap. And then it just clicked in our head saying, hey, we have multiple skills that we have developed in our lives and in medicine that we can translate over into real estate. And so, we put our heads together, our superpowers together, we put in our super team together, and it just snowballed.
Excellent. I love that, you guys. So let's talk a little bit about those superpowers. So what were the superpowers that you guys, not to use a play on words, but that you employed? What superpowers did you employ in your W-2 work or in your full-time work that you brought into your real estate investing?
So I am very detail oriented, and I'm a really great planner and researcher. I planned our entire year off and everywhere we're going to travel to. And Victor executed the plan, thankfully. So I decided to plan this. I got the lawyer, I drew up the LLC, we got the accountants, we did everything right from the start, which was a huge help. And then Victor, he is just really, really good at executing the plan. So if I come up with that plan, Victor will make it happen.
And in healthcare, like we have skill sets that will help us in providing care for people, analytical thinking, multitasking, communication, being able to translate these things over into real estate, the organization of it, because it's a beast of a machine that always is going, and is multiple people that we employ that rely on us for direction, and we try to make sure that we keep grounded in knowing that we push this vehicle forward with our strong aptitudes, and we make sure that we keep within our strengths, because Leigh and I both have our strengths, and we do well together.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit more, because maybe there are some folks out there who are, maybe in the same spot that you guys were. There's either an intent from one partner to want to do some of this, or maybe even both want to, but they just don't know how to either work together or maybe do not want to work together. Can you guys talk about how you kind of fell into these roles? Did you guys just stumble into them, or was there a conversation behind it? How did that all start at the beginning?
No, I think the foundation of our relationship is really just a partnership. We met studying together and helping each other through school, and it's always been a 50-50 partnership. So this was really just natural for us. This is how we run our marriage. We always sit down, we talk about our goals, talk about where we want to be, and we're just generally on the same page. I think a lot of couples have a problem where one person's driving the ship and they're trying to get the other person to kind of hop on board. But we're always both driving the ship, and we're always running in that same direction, working together to meet that goal. And that's really what you should be doing in a relationship, working together. That's what it's all about, we think.
And it came natural to us, thankfully, because of our personalities, and we knew, our strengths and our drivers. And, thankfully, we kind of have a good combination of the analytical side of Leigh, my multitasking side, and my hands-on approach. And we use that together, to really push the business forward. And we really think that, getting on the same page, communication up front, setting roles, discussing a roadmap, those things is what really helped us set that base initially.
Yeah, Leigh and Victor, so good, so much wisdom there. Thank you. And just to kind of tack on to what Derek was asking, I want to highlight something Leigh said earlier, which was, the aspect of like the roadmap, kind of almost the feeling that I get was like you both came together, consciously designed your life. And I heard that there was the burnout that was happening. So can you talk more about the process of that life design, and how forward did you have to look, and what was the dance around that because from an outsider's perspective, they're like, wow, this amazing power couple, 2 doctors, probably like doing, it's like the dream kind of situation. But from what we're hearing, you guys weren't terribly happy, and you said you needed to pivot. And so, can you talk more about that life design and that process?
I clearly remember that moment of trying to design our life. And I remember being in our little studio apartment in DC, sitting on the couch together with our laptops saying, okay, we need to come up with a plan here. Like, and I remember we wrote it down. We stayed up talking and figured out where we wanted to be in the next 5 years. And maybe that sounds cheesy, but we actually did that, because I believe if you set any goal, if you really work towards it, and if you have a map to get there, you can achieve it. And we've always done this throughout our lives.
Oh yeah. I mean, and trust me, there was ups and downs, anxious moments. I mean, how can we give up our careers, put a stop to everything, give up all that we worked for, all the education, all the degrees, and say, you know what, that's it. We need to make a change. And just like Leigh said, we set the roadmap of where do we want our lives 5, 10 years down the road, and let's work backwards, one step at a time of where we need to be. You know, we kind of broke it down by, you know, the next 12 months, the next 5 years. And we're not just talking about financial freedom. We're talking about how we developed our family, how we, put together our lifestyle, you know, what we want to look down the road 30 years from now, and how do we want that to be?
You guys started to build this business up, right? Like after you got some momentum, you did your first flip, you had a proof of concept on this, and you decided to kind of lean into this. I know what that's like, or at least I think I do. I know what that's like, especially if one or both of you guys are working full-time jobs, right? So can you talk a little bit about the balance? Because where was it in this point in time where you started to have kids as well? Or when did kids enter the picture? Because I know that starts to, push more time constraints on the both of you. So I wanted to address that piece of balance while you were growing the portfolio. Can you speak to that for a little bit?
So yeah, when we started out, we didn't have any kids, which was very helpful because we were working full-time jobs. So all of our other free time, we were working towards this other goal. But shortly thereafter, in those first few projects, I was pregnant and we did have our daughter.
Right.
And we just had to incorporate that into our lives. So, the baby came with us. The babies are portable.
Wow.
I have lots of memories of walking through these vacant homes with my newborn strapped to my chest.
Yeah, like waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, signing contracts on my phone, not trying to wake anybody at 6 o'clock in the morning, going to clinic, answering text messages as clinic from contractors, trying to go, at nighttime and do blue tape final walkthroughs. We made adjustments where we needed to make adjustments because we knew that, we had a larger ultimate goal, and we kind of just made it a part of our lifestyle at that point.
That's great, you guys. I could tell that there was commitment there. So what would you say to those folks out there who are looking for some sort of silver bullet in this business?
Silver bullet. I don't think there's not a quick fix to this. I think that if you really want to achieve financial freedom through real estate, it takes hard work and dedication and a lot of planning, and no one makes it overnight. So it's commitment, planning, listening, researching, learning, but it's worth it in the end.
What processes would you guys say that you incorporated throughout this journey that helped keep it all together while you were growing? Was there anything in your routine, like, business check-ins where you guys would say, okay, I'm taking off my business hat and putting on my relationship hat? Or like, was there any kind of things that you did that some of our listeners can look forward to as they're building their portfolio?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think we just have always been, like I said, that partnership. So victories within our business felt like victories within our marriage. And I think it all became intertwined. So it's a really great feeling when you work together as a couple and you're able to achieve that goal. I think that just brings a lot of joy in itself.
And every time you go through the growing pains, you learn a new lesson. And so as we started to scale and the volume started to get larger, we had to bring in more team members into our system, making sure that we kept as fluid as we could. We, hired out our weaknesses and try to make sure that we had, our weaknesses lifted up. And then we kind of set our small household rules, hey, no phones after a certain time unless it's an emergency. family time is important. Let's set a date where it's family time, personal time, date night. Let's focus on our health. We do exercise together. We do yoga together. We do a lot of things together. And we try to make sure we have a balance of wellness, business, families. I mean, we try to think that kind of holistic kind of mindset of just, we grow a business, but we're also setting up our lifestyle. We're setting up, our legacy for our family. So we kind of look at it as like an overall plan for everyone.
That's beautiful. And can you guys give us, if you're okay, giving us a sneak peek on like, what is that big vision, 10 years down the line? And another part of that question is, on a daily basis, what are your kids seeing you do every day? And can you speak more to that legacy piece?
So our 10-year vision is really that legacy wealth. So building up a big enough real estate portfolio that is generating that passive income, that we're no longer so active in the business. And we're really more so living off of that passive income, and therefore designing our lives every day, right? Waking up and doing what we want, being there for our kids, watching them grow up, being a part of their lives as much as we can. And right now, the way that our kids are seeing it is they're seeing what we're doing every day. We do a lot of our work from home now, since we're not full-time at the clinics anymore. And they see what we're doing. They come to our properties still. They come to walkthroughs. We make them sweep and clean the floors. That we want them to be incorporated into it so that they understand from an early age hard work and investing and a lot of these values that sometimes you don't always learn in the classroom.
Absolutely. And your kids are the luckiest kids in the world to be able to learn that. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you as well, for both of you, if you had to do it all over again, what do you wish you knew starting out?
Early on, with our personality types, we really put a lot of things on our shoulders to do ourselves, when we should have tried to build our team earlier on. We try to find your own deals, your own properties, trying to reach out to all the banks and the lenders, try to read through documents. These things that we learned that the team structure and developing a team that can scale around you was one thing we wish we did earlier on in this phase, because we realized that we could have scaled a whole lot faster, a whole lot more if we had done so. What else?
I also wish we had started investing a lot earlier.
Oh,
if we had bought back in DC
yeah.
instead of putting all that money towards loans, we'd be doing really well. So
yeah, sure.
Can I ask you guys as well, like, knowing what you know now, would you have gone to med school?
Well, I think so, because it gave us a great foundation, and having those W-2 jobs were very favorable for those initial loans. Mm-hmm. And it also was able to generate us some income to get our first property and to travel the entire world. And it's also still nice practicing medicine and helping people too.
Right.
Absolutely. What are your fellow clinician colleagues, how are they reacting, seeing you guys make this shift and pivot?
Yeah.
Like, are you starting any mentorship groups, support groups for physicians going through burnout?
So that's a great question, because we get approached so often, because everybody sees what we're doing. They want to be a part of what we're doing. A lot of our investors are colleagues of mine, coworkers of mine, who see how far we've scaled shortly, and they're like, "Hey, I'm not seeing you in the hospital as much anymore. What are you guys up to?" I'm like, "Well, let me tell you." They're kind of in awe and, in disbelief that, we did this and scaled in this fashion. And they also want to be, a lot of them want to be a part of what we're doing, because it's just, we mentor a lot. We have a private mastermind that we have regularly monthly, and we talk about, reaching financial freedom. and focusing on legacy. We don't talk about really making money. We're talking focus on reaching that legacy. And how did we work towards those steps? What ninja strategies did we use? What other strategies others are using? So we have a dialogue of that, because in healthcare and medicine, we're not trained to talk about the business of healthcare and medicine. We're trained to help folks. But the corporate structure of the medical business world, is a difficult one, So we talk to other clinicians and everybody about, outside of your career and profession, how are you taking care of your outlook for life and your future retirement and your future goals, so that you're not working into your 70s or working yourself dead, because a lot of clinicians do. And we don't talk about those things. So we really have an open dialogue regularly and talk to everybody about what we do, because we really want everybody to be a part of what we're doing anyways.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's awesome. And that's what's really neat about this, is that you guys are setting up something that you're really excited about. Other people can feel it. And it's just kind of like this win-win-win situation. Win for you guys, win for your investors or your fellow onlookers, right? And then win, of course, for your residents and for the people that you do business with. So I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think what I wanted to do is I wanted to pivot a little bit more and go back to, actually, let's do this. Let's talk about what your ideal day looks like and what your current routines are at home. Because I'm sure that a lot of people right now who are just starting out want to figure out what it is that they'd be looking forward to being in your guys' spot after 3-4 years of hard work. So what does your daily routines look like right now at this point?
So, so can I take that one? So, you can imagine we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh boy.
And so definitely in high demand of attention. So our day does start off early. We're up early at the crack of dawn, getting, the kids ready for school, getting the kids dressed and fed. We thankfully have the capabilities of having our kids in school and in care. And so once our kids are off to their day, we get back home. We really have focused on our health lately. And, because of COVID and the things shutting down, we've done a lot of in-home things like exercising. We do yoga together regularly. We try to take walks, bikes, regularly. We try to set our business days to regular business days, in the short-term fix and flip side, it's always sometimes up and down, but usually we have a stable hour that we can do that. We have lunch together. We have time to ourselves. We have time to focus on our families. And then the kids are back home. And then we're trying to spend time with the kids before we can get kids ready and get them cleaned and into bed. We read to our kids every night. So we want to have, them there, knowing that we are there for them and giving them all support and love that they have. So, and then we get a little bit of quiet time to ourselves at night to decompress and focus on the next day.
The best thing though is I used to be in the clinic from 8 in the morning to 10 p.m. at night. There would be entire days where I wouldn't even see my children. So I get to spend time with my kids every day, no matter how busy we are in the clinic. I can still take them to the park in the afternoon. I can still cook them dinner at night. We still get to do bedtime. And those things are what's really special to me, just being there every single day.
Right. And we get to take vacations at any point. We can go anywhere during the week. Our cell phones really keeps us connected with anybody who needs to reach out to us. So we're very flexible in our lifestyle.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's what people are mostly looking for when they get into this business. But, for those of you listeners out there who are listening to this and saying, oh my gosh, this sounds like a great thing, listen to all the difficulties and hardships that it takes to get there. You can do it, but there's got to be a underlying sense of determination, drive. There has to be the mindset there to support all of those sacrifices you're going to make in order to get to the other side, to be able to enjoy the freedom and the flexibility that you guys are enjoying right now. So I just wanted to put that caveat there. Right. Now, I was going to make a pivot to get into this first, but I wanted to ask that question before we get carried away, because I wanted to start talking about tactics here. Those people who are maybe looking at potentially doing flips on their own. I'm sure you've been asked before quite a bit, but what are some of the things that you look for in a property when you're looking to select a flip, either whether it's single family or multifamily, or maybe you want to address both?
We can address both. I mean, we kind of run different sections of our business. I'm mainly focused on the day in, day out, fix and flip underwriting, and Leigh's focused more on the multifamily underwriting acquisitions, broker contacts. So on the fix and flip side, now we have generally a formula that we try to achieve. We're looking at properties that are distressed, foreclosed. We have a lot of off-market campaigns where we look to help folks who are underwater on their mortgage or just need to get out of this property. And we try to find a point where we have enough space in the equity where we can purchase the property, renovate the property, and then put the property back on the market for a favorable return. So we look at these things like, old roofs, no air conditioning, outdated interiors. We look at these things when we're walking through properties, and we walk through a lot of properties, and you get your muscle memory in there. And then we underwrite the deals. We underwrite to the final number to make sure that closing costs are covered, expenses are covered. The one thing a lot of folks do forget about it, contingencies. Nobody ever thinks they're going to have a pipe in the wall burst before they get into their property, but you should always plan for that. Because it always happens.
It does happen.
Layers, you always find problems.
You mean like last night?
Yeah, exactly. So like,
there you go.
So we always have problems. And then our jobs is to find solutions, simple solutions for these problems. So I usually say, those are the kind of things you got to hone down on. Don't think that your property is going to be hit out of the park. We always say we want simple base hits because then we can sleep at night.
Do you guys look?
We win, some more. So that's what we're focused on.
Perfect. So that means on the single family side, like a traditional metric that I usually see is your all-in cost, which means your purchase price plus any rehab plus closing costs. That goes in at 75% of ARV. Are you guys in that type of school of thought as well?
We try to be. We've adjusted based on the market recently over the last 2 years. That has skyrocketed, especially in our local area. 75 is usually what we try to set our metrics for when it comes to off market, likely on market or foreclosed home, HUD homes. We usually have 30, 40 offers against ours. So we really try to use other strategies that, thankfully we have built, such as our in-house contracting teams, where we can control the cost of labor, control the cost of materials, and control the timeline, where we are doing projects in a couple of weeks when it takes people a couple of months. Holding costs can really eat your returns.
Oh yeah.
We really try to focus on, sometimes we'll push it to 80%, of total ARV after repair values, because we would rather not miss the opportunity to provide returns to all of our investors. And we do such high volume that it's more of a overall annual look at each the overall annual returns. And because we do also have the portfolio and multifamily side, we convert all of those returns over into our buy and hold side for our investors. And so it's in kind of continuing spinning wheel of continuous returns and passive income and tax sheltering all together.
I love that.
Okay.
I really, really love that. I love the fact that you're not discounting these properties, and probably you're looking at doing wraps and all these really cool stuff with with the off-market deals with direct to sellers. But I really love the fact that you have this combined approach for your investors where you're diversifying them across a whole bunch of asset types. I think that's really, really cool. And I also like what you said about even if you have to go to 80% or maybe even a little bit over 80, maybe 81 or 82, you can look at the numbers and say, well, the appreciation in this area, even though the appraisal right now is showing this, everything else is showing such extreme growth that the appraisal is just not right. And, we have to live with it for now. And so, it'll catch up in a year or two. And when it's time to sell, we'll make it 20% just off of appreciation, which I love that flexibility. I love that you guys are looking at all these different things. Now, let's talk real quick about the multifamily side, what you guys are looking for there, just so that you can show people what is it that they can do also to maybe start in their local market.
So when we transitioned into multifamily, we really wanted to take the skills that we already had and transition them over into multifamily. So we're really, really good at taking distressed properties, rehabbing them, elevating them. And that's what we're looking for multifamily investments as well. We're looking for value add places with outdated carpet, paint, outdated cabinets, things that are easy cosmetic turnovers where you can, quickly elevate the overall rents and increase your net operating income, which increases the value of your property. Slightly different strategy with multifamily is we are not trying to quickly just flip multifamily. We really want to buy and hold. And on the back end, take our money out through a refinance instead of through a sale, which is really advantageous, especially because when you refinance, you are not taxed on that income. So
right.
So it's much more favorable.
We strategize that way because, most people don't see it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. Mm-hmm. So we try to provide strategies of not just capital building, but harvesting and depreciations and deductions that overall your net overall returns are very, very favorable compared to the market.
Yeah, I love that. And they're also tax advantaged, or like you said, Leigh, not taxed at all because of a refinance. It's beautiful. And also we're in such a great, interest rate environment right now. Like it's starting to change a little bit, and who knows what will happen with the macroeconomics, but with those single family homes, man, you get those 30-year amortizations. Everything is nice and clean for a while. It's a really great thing that you guys have going on. So I want to commend you on all that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the questions that I have. Sophie, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, just one last one, guys. So when did you make the decision to start to include multifamily or scale up to multifamily? And for our listeners out there, what kind of tips do you have for them who are thinking about making the leap into multifamily?
So we decided to transition to multifamily really when we accumulated so many single family homes and smaller apartment buildings that we kind of maxed ourselves out on those. And we thought, we need to consolidate our properties under one roof.
Yes.
We need to make it a little bit simpler for ourselves.
And we need to scale.
Right. So we needed to scale as well. So multifamily is really a different world than single family. And so the first thing that we did was just start educating ourselves, reading, listening to podcasts, learning how to analyze a multifamily deal, and then increasing my network within multifamily as well, with brokers, lenders. So it's really a whole different game.
And it's a smaller field, everybody knows each other. Everybody knows, because when it comes to single family homes, there are thousands on the market. When it comes to multifamily, there's a handful. And so everybody is, trying their hardest to provide the best possible offer on the multifamily side. And you're dealing sometimes with institutional buyers, 1031 exchange buyers. And, you're trying to find the best spin on this offer that you're trying to provide. And so the learning curve from single family to multifamily, there was differences in lingo, in numbers, in underwriting, in lending. So we learned a lot, over the last few years about this. But at the end of the day, real estate is real estate.
It is.
So whether it's one door or 200 doors, it's the same thing in a way where you're providing beautiful housing for folks to live in. And your goal is to cash flow on these properties and continue doing it over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I wanted to add, and that was very well said, but one thing I wanted to add too is that while you have there's a handful of institutional or a handful of buyers or more sophisticated buyers, I might also want to add for listeners out there that the sellers are also sophisticated too. So sometimes like they may try to put a fast one on you. Like that's happened to me numerous times, almost on every deal. Like they're trying to do something, like they'll do what's called stuffing units, right? Where, when they get under contract, when they know they're going to sell, they start like bringing in people with lower standards than they normally would accept. And then they all of a sudden the qualification paperwork starts dropping away from the lease paperwork that you ask for, right? And so you don't see any of that. So they start putting people in the units to make it look like it's occupied, even though they're just people that don't belong in the building. So,
And
stuff like that happens, right?
We've had it where they made it difficult for us in regards to obtaining our, seller, documents, leases.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to give you the leases. You can come look at them in our offices, or, the leases are out of date. They're expired. Or, we've let those people live there for a couple of months and they're not paying rent, but they're going to catch up. Or, it's like, oh, that roof, it leaked before, but we patched it up. Or, it's like all these, like, oh, this is a war zone, but it would be okay if you can just
guys, it seems legit. It seems totally legit.
And they, exactly. Price that, property that you're like, you cannot believe it's priced at this value, a value of potentially what you can turn it into. It's like, oh, well.
Incredible. Yeah. Leigh, I was wondering if there was any thoughts going through your mind as we were talking about, it'll be okay. Just let people in, like, that's fine. They'll pay. I'm guessing your advice, Leigh, would be to not do that, but.
Yeah, with both the family side and the multifamily side, really what it comes down to for every single investment we make is the numbers. We look at it on paper. If it makes sense on paper, then it will probably make sense. A lot of people will fall in love with the deal. They'll fall in love with a house. They'll fall in love with an apartment building. They'll fall in love with an area. But that doesn't mean anything. Your numbers have to work.
100%.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, what we look at, do the numbers work?
100%. I love that. That's a perfect note to end the regular session of the show with. I wish that we could have more time to talk with you about this, guys, but we want to go ahead and move on to do our final segment of the show, which is the same 5 questions that we ask all of our guests. But again, it's been a pleasure having you guys on, and we could talk about this for hours. It seems like we have a lot to rush through, but we'll go ahead and start with the first one in the rapid round. Do you want to, we'll alternate? You want to do the first one?
Yeah. All right, guys. So the first question for each of you is, what book has had the biggest impact on you and why? And we asked that it be outside of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the Bible, because we get these answers a lot.
I think the last book I read it was during our travels. So The Power of Positive Thinking. That was a book that it kind of gave me that mind switch, kind of focusing on, you can have a bad day or you can have a good day just based on your outlook for that day, and then focusing on directing your energy on positive things in your life. And so changing that aura, that mindset, really mindset is really what can guide you in the right path. I think that's one that really resonated with me best, to really change my motivation mindset.
Love it. Thank you. And Leigh?
Victor's the main reader in the relationship.
Got it. So we'll go with that one for your response also. Okay. All right. Number 2, I'll ask number 2. If people wanted to emulate your guys' success, what is the first actionable thing for each of you that they could do to follow in your footsteps?
The first thing is what we keep talking about, is making that plan. Figure out where you want to be. What do you want your life to look like? Design your ideal life, and then figure out how to get there. Work backwards. So first have the end goal, and then figure it out. If you have no end goal, then you don't even know where you're driving to, right?
Exactly.
Love it. And Leigh? Or I'm sorry, Victor?
And just going off of what Leigh's saying, I mean, a dream without a plan is just a dream, right? So I usually say, and this is where my side of the viewpoint is we have a roadmap, we have a plan, but you need to take action. You need to do something. Don't just be analysis by paralysis, overthinking, over anxious, thinking the possible worst things that could possibly happen. No, in real estate, this is a well-beaten path of creating legacy wealth. So just trust in the process, trust in the team, trust in the folks that you're investing with, that we're driving the vehicle all along down the road together, but take that first step to taking action, because you're going to regret if you didn't.
Oh yeah. And just a comment here before we go to the next question, that I can see your guys' personalities and strengths coming through in this answer. And what's beautiful about it is that that's how things work. You need a combination of planning and execution to work. And both of you guys are working together to make that happen actively. So I just think that it's really cool that that's how it came out with the answer to this question, that's what you recommend to everyone to do what you guys are strong in. But I think as couples, right, doing them together, doing what you do best, and the planning and the execution, they come hand in hand, and it is essential. So thank you guys.
Awesome.
All right, next one.
All right, next question is, what small thing do most people not know about you?
That's for each of you.
Good question.
Well, so most people don't know that I'm an immigrant. So I was born in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I moved to the States when I was about 10 years old, not speaking a lick of English, not knowing how to write anything. And, you know, my parents immigrated to the States for, just like any other immigrant story, to have a better life for their families. And so most people don't know that about me. And most people don't know anything about Brazil. And so I usually say, you know, Brazil is a beautiful country and everyone should travel there post-COVID because there's such beauty down there, and you know, and learn a little bit of the Portuguese language before you go, because they don't speak too much English when you're down there. So.
Excellent.
Aw.
And what about you, Leigh?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I'm an open book. I think I just share my life with people.
Leigh,
That's
so Leigh, okay, so I'll tell you this. So, one true story about Leigh is that she's probably the smartest person that I know. Okay, so I sat the first day in medical school. I sat in the front row next to this lady, and thank God I did, because she got me through the ups and downs of that turmoil. So she's extremely intellectual, very smart, knows exactly what she wants. I mean, she's just a wonderful partner to have.
Aww,
Excellent.
You guys are
That's sweet.
So beautiful.
All right, number 4. How do you like to unwind and restore your own creative juices individually, for each of you?
I love going to the beach, which is why I moved to the beach. So I could just sit at the ocean front for hours, relaxing, maybe with a glass of wine, and I'm restored. So
Nice.
that's
Love
what
it.
I like to do.
Yeah, I just, you know, I focus on health and wellness. You know, we try to, like I said, stay active. We bike, we hike, we dive, you know, we do a lot of active things, and we like to do a lot of outdoorsy things and incorporate that into our lifestyle with us and the kids. And so that's how we kind of generally, and then we travel, you know, we still travel. And I mean, obviously COVID has slowed things down, but we love to see little nooks and cranny of the world that, you know, most people don't even attempt to go to. So we try to incorporate that into their lives so that we can have a better balance overall in our lives.
Excellent.
So good. Yeah. And last question is, what is your favorite family vacation spot?
Ooh, yeah.
Family vacation spot.
Yeah.
So a lot of them. So
Oh,
who's gonna say this one, me or you? Or you guys say?
each of you. Yeah, each of you, I guess.
We had children. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to travel too much due to COVID. But I think one of our favorite spots to travel to was Bali. And
Oh my gosh, dream destination.
And we learned to dive off of the coast of Bali, and we just really want to bring our kids to do that with us. And we also really love visiting Brazil, the northern part of Brazil, and seeing Victor's family and just seeing all of those beautiful places in that region, eating all the different foods and seeing the culture and the music. It's just great. We're more of like exotic vacationers.
Oh yeah.
I love that. And what about you, Leigh? Or Victor? Man, I keep doing that. I'm sorry.
I'll snip it out.
We're going to cut that out on both ends.
So, you know, really loved, I really love Southeast Asia a lot. Really enjoy that culture. We traveled extensively in Myanmar, in Vietnam, in northern parts of Laos. You know, really love that Vietnamese coastline. The food, the people were wonderful there. And you know, in South America, we had an extremely wonderful time and experience in Bolivia. We did a lot of rural kind of exploration and went to smaller villages, saw how people live with their minimal lifestyles and things like that. And so we would love to go back there someday and just like provide healthcare and care for others.
Yeah, that's incredible. And end on a note, giving back to others. I love that. That's so great.
Of course.
Awesome. Well, Victor, Leigh, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. It was such an honor to have you guys here. And I'm really glad that we had a common connection, courteous enough to make the introduction so we could do something like this. This is really, really great. So thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah,
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who are listening to this podcast, before we move on to the outro, can you guys tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you guys and what you have going on, and maybe if they want to reach out to you guys?
So reach out to us on multiple platforms. 258capital.com. That's spelled out 258capital.com. We're also pretty active online on social media, Instagram at LV_Realty. We keep a lot of our active real estate in that, along with all the new things we're doing in our household. We really highlight not just business, but how us and our families are enjoying our lifestyle. So our followers really kind of like that. And that's pretty much where we usually kind of connect with people.
Excellent. Cool. Well, very much. We'll put those links in the show notes so that people can get in touch with you guys a lot easier. So for all of you guys who have listened all the way to the end of the podcast, thank you guys also for listening. And if you want more content like this, please comment, subscribe wherever you're listening or wherever you're watching this, because we want to hear from you guys and want to make sure that we're delivering more high value content, just like what Leigh and Victor have provided to us today. It was a really, really incredible show. And we also want to appease those algorithm gods so that we can get exposure to more and more individuals and get more organic traffic into the show. We always love that. So this is Derek.
And this is Sophie.
We're signing off for the day. Thank you, everyone.